Well, welcome and good day, everyone. We, of course, are glad to have you guys joining us again for another Talk It Over on this wonderful day. Of course, we are continuing in our series of The Power to Change, which I've found to be really good. I don't know for you.
Me too. Yep.
It's been a strong one. A really good way to kind of not quite start the year, but really close to that beginning of the year. I think it was a really good start to that in the message series. So yeah, looking forward to talking about this week's, and of course we have another week yet to come. So don't hesitate again, guys, to come back next week for another Talk It Over. And if you have missed any of our Talk It Overs or even the messages, you can of course check those out on YouTube at LifeNorth.Church. All the stuff there, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and you'll be notified, of course, when all that content is posted and available. So before we get started, of course, we have Michaela back again for another great conversation. So how's your week been? How have things been going?
It's been a good week. I've been battling a cough for the last 2 weeks, so that's not good. But other than that, like yesterday, got to visit some family. My husband's family and a couple of family members came from Florida, his aunt and uncle. Okay. And so we got to celebrate his grandma's birthday, go out for dinner, just catch up with cousins. Yep. And yeah, it's been really great. I love family gatherings, and I'm glad that they're getting back, after COVID and all that, people feeling a bit more comfortable seeing each other. So that was really good. That was good. And today is a special day. Ian, your birthday. Yes. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. Today is the official day. So yeah, another year older, I guess. But
yes, you're feeling good.
So far, so good. Each year seems to get a little bit more achy and slow, but that's I think just as it progresses.
Yeah. Shows the life that you've been living. Yeah, the experiences you've had.
The experiences, all that kind of stuff. That sometimes those things when you're young and you do silly things and injure yourself, you don't realize at the time what the lasting implications those might have later on in life. But
no.
We'll all get there one day, and as we age, that's just all part of it. So yeah, it is what it is. But yeah.
Good. That's good.
For me, it's been a really up and down kind of week. We've been moved out of our house for some renovations due to water damage. So it's been a bit of a rushed week, moving out, trying to settle in, having a little dog that's, seems to be all out of sorts for a while there with all the new atmosphere and much less space and just not his normal. Same as, for us, it's not our normal. It's out of our routine. We have to change basically our whole normal routine to get everything to work, because we have to now drive to everything a little bit further. Takes a bit more time, a bit more organization. So that's just been a little bit of a roller coaster. So hopefully this week we'll have a little bit more of a routine built now for this upcoming week, so things maybe be a little smoother. Yeah. But other than that, things have been good. Got to go to the trailer show on Friday, which was a lot of fun. Nice. We of course enjoy camping, so it was nice. It was nice to go. It was a little odd because everybody there was a good 20 years older than me.
Oh, really?
So it was an interesting experience standing in line for tickets, and everybody around us is like grandparents. So
you're representing a different geographic.
A whole different demographic. So it was interesting, but it was good. We got to get to all the kind of trailers we wanted to. Had an opportunity to talk to a bunch of people at the dealerships and asking questions, gaining a bit more information on different models and things and all the stuff they have. So that was good. It was a good experience. Kind of gets us thinking of, okay, we need to start, of course, planning for what'll be the next thing for us in camping, and what that looks like. So it gives us a good idea of where we kind of have to step and look for and start planning ahead, so we can pre-decide some things that we need to maybe give up to be able to make this happen in the future. So it was good. It was a good weekend. Had a lot of fun, and we got the birthday weekday for me, and we've got my wife's coming up in a couple days. So
crazy how you guys are so close together.
So close together. We just kind of make a whole birthday week out of it. Depends on how it goes. So it's usually pretty good fun time. So
good. That's good.
Yeah. We're continuing, of course, in our fifth message on the power to change. And this week we're talking about you don't win by trying. And
So
I think
good.
that really rings pretty deep for a lot of people. We can try and try and try, but we never succeed because we tend to keep the same habits, the same things, and we don't tend to make much change or effort. And we just continue to keep trying to do the same thing, but never really succeed. So I thought this message was really good. Craig kind of recapped again. 5 weeks, sometimes we forget some of the first ones. So our first one he had message was our spiritual who. So week 2 was our spiritual why. Week 3 was spiritual what. Week 4, our spiritual what not. So again, the opposite of, a habit we need to break, and why or what was about talking about what habits can we implement. This week is our spiritual how. So how do we kind of look at, how do we make things move forward? How do we, change a routine or a habit to go from trying to training?
Yes.
Which I thought was quite important. Craig broke down that kind of trying and training because they kind of sound the same. But they are different. So trying is an attempt to change with minimal commitment. So he phrased it as, we're going to try this, but we always have an excuse or an easy way out of trying, that we can stop doing this in some way for a very simple reason. Training is the wholehearted commitment to achieve a specific result. So yeah, that sounds very different. When you break them down like that, to me, that's a very different. You're going from minimal commitment to all-in commitment.
Yep.
And that really does change how we attack things, how we do things, how we try to accomplish stuff.
So good. That's really good.
So when you're training, you got to get the gear. And Craig, of course, broke it down. You generally, you're going to go find some of the better equipment, the nicer things, whatever that might be, whether it's a sport. He had, sport. Some people organize. Some people, it's whatever it is. But you tend to go find those pieces. And I know, for you, Michaela, and my wife, cricketing stuff.
Yes.
You got, and not just buying, always the generic things, you'll buy the nicer cricket stuff. Or
the brand name.
The brand stuff, right? Because you're really trying to really do something really, really well, and you want to succeed. So you go get that gear. You get the better stuff. You make sure you have it, and then you're ready to go.
Exactly. Yes.
And then you also, of course, want to create a game plan. So something that's going to allow you to continue to train, to try to work towards that achievement, whatever it might be. And you need to have that in place, because if there's no plan, you don't have a direction. There's no reason to go anywhere. You don't have that focus. It's just kind of, it'd be cool.
Right.
Really,
an idea that maybe doesn't come to fruition.
Yeah, it's an idea, it's a thought, but there's no real plan to get to the end of what you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into these questions. We're going to break this down a little bit further, and really kind of see what we can kind of get out of this today, because it is an excellent message. Our scripture today comes from 1 Timothy 4 verses 7 to 8. Instead, train yourself to be godly. Physical training is good, but training for godliness is much better, promising benefits in this life and the life to come. And that to me was like mind blowing there. Just sometimes we forget that we're just going to train here, but training for godliness and the promise of benefits now and later, that delayed gratification, those things that we get later, and those rewards in heaven, I think really should shift our mind to let's remove the material stuff, the things that are here, and let's focus on something that's going to be, again, everlasting after we leave here, because we can't take the stuff with us, right?
Exactly.
It's here, we can't take it. So
yeah.
I think that was just a great reminder, a good focusing point on the message as well as our questions here today. So, Michaela, now I've never asked you this, but didn't know if you played any sports or any kind of an activity, but did you train? What did you train for in that kind of an activity when you were younger? So something that maybe was something you were really working towards, either in a sport or some kind of an activity.
Yeah. Let's see. There was softball So in elementary school, my friend tried out for the team, the school team, and she was like, hey, you should try out. Never played softball in my life.
Okay.
But I was like, okay, sure. And made the team that year. The year after, I started joining like a city or like a rec league team, or house league, I guess, and was learning more about the sport and what it involves. And so yeah, as I became more committed, there was like regular training throughout the week as we prepared for each game. And so there was a high level of commitment that was needed.
Yep.
In terms of just being able to grow in my comfort of being able to like bat and throw, like all
Yep.
of that,
Yep.
on top of knowing just like the rules of the game and then working well with my team. So all those like pieces that come together with, you know, being a part of a team like that, it taught me a lot. And I saw if I wasn't training or if I missed a bunch of training, that affected how I played.
Yep.
Which was interesting and I guess maybe obvious too. But yeah, I really appreciated what I was able to learn from that experience and take that into like things that I can do now.
Yep.
I'm not as much into sports now. I love to like dance and, you know, trying to get into more of a solid workout routine,
Yep.
which is helping me to have more of that like training mindset and perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those things where, yeah, you know, you have practices, you have things throughout the week, and you're really just sharpening, honing your skills in that field or that area.
Yeah.
But you're not trying to do that. You're training it. You're committed. You're doing it. You're there, putting in the work, not just maybe. So yeah, that's great, because those skills of, you know, persevering through, you know, oh, I don't feel like it, I kind of don't want to. And we talked again weeks ago about, you know, feelings, things that can misdirect you when you kind of, you know, want to pre-decide something that you've got it set, that this is what you're doing. And when you make that commitment, you're committed all in. It's not halfway, right?
Yeah. Oh, and it helps having like the scheduled practice time, let's just say for a sports team, right? So even just thinking about like, I have a goal to run 5K, a 5K this year. And like having a schedule, like I'm going to run like this day, and this day throughout the week. Bless you. And you know, just like like what you were saying, pre-deciding that ahead of time instead of like in the moment of like, I don't feel like it. Now, unfortunately, the last 2 weeks I haven't been able to run because I've been sick. But that's the grace piece of it. But still, just like now as I'm getting better again, let's get back into that habit. Let's schedule that time so that I am training, not trying.
Yep. Yeah, because trying, your feelings will say don't do it, and then you won't. Right? And
Exactly.
that'll take over. Well, you know, work was hard, or oh, I kind of feel, you know, something, just a little tickle in my throat, or like, well, you know, and that's the trying part, right? So
Totally. How about you?
for me, it's surprising, but still today, still training in martial arts. That's something I've been doing since I was 7. And I've had small breaks in between the, holy moly, 30 years now of life, I guess. So there's been breaks, but for that span, I've been more training than not. And yeah, the dedication that it takes and the mindset of what you're trying to achieve changes. Once you commit to, I'm going to do this, you got to be there. And it's the same thing. You need to be working out there, you know, a couple times a week. Different kind. It's not like you have a game on Sunday, but you're training towards the next step. So the next stripe, the next belt, whatever that might be, that's what you're training for. You're training to get there. And you have to, again, have that mindset of, this is what I want to do. What's the achievement?
Yeah.
And for me, the mindset was, I'm going to get my black belt. I did. But that wasn't really what the goal was. The goal really needed to be, I'm just going to train. That's it. I'm just training. Continually training. Once I hit that black belt, that's not the end. It's more training. You just keep learning. And so, yeah, for me, that's where it's headed. I'm continuing to train now. I started sparring this past week again, and after about 5 years of not sparring. So that was a very new experience for me. Something, again, I was in the feelings point of, I don't know if I really want to do this. This sounds like a bad idea. I'm not that young anymore, against a lot of younger athletes. And I'm not an athlete, so
You're still young.
yeah, it's slowing down. But at the same time, it was, no, I need to do this. This is something I need to do, because if I don't, I'm always going to be held back by this feeling of, oh, I'm not young enough to do this anymore. So it's, again, a pre-decide, no, I need to do it. And so, yeah, it's been good. And yeah, it's trying to keep the goal now is just to keep going. My next step is to become a master. That's my next step in what I'm trying to achieve. So I need to be training regularly to do that. Because if I'm not, I won't be able to get there. So yeah, so it's been good. It's been a long process, but it's been an enjoyable journey. Got to do some of it with my dad, up through black belt, and now my son is, and now I'm doing it with him. So it's kind of a little transition. So it was nice. It was good. So
would you say that when you first started as a kid, was that like your choice, or your parents kind of got you into that first?
It was kind of my choice, and I decided, and I started. Then my dad decided to join to do it with me. He thought it would be good exercise for him.
Yeah.
He had no agenda of really having to go anywhere with it. It was more just for exercise. But then it turned into him being the push to keep me going. Because as you know, teenagers, we tend to stray from things, or we want to do our own thing. We know best.
Right.
But having him being that kind of that coach, that influence, that push to keep me going is what actually pushed me through that mindset to continue to train, to work towards the goal of getting to black and then further. So
that's good. Sometimes you need those people in your life.
You do.
Spur you on, really.
You do, because if you don't have those people to spur you on, it's easy to stop. Because it's like, oh well, okay, I'll stop. And sometimes you do need that. So no, it's been good. I've really enjoyed it, and continue to enjoy it to this day. So
that's great.
So yeah, I don't know what it is for you guys. If there's something you guys, an activity, a sport, something you guys were training for really hard, could be anything. Maybe you were like a semi-pro dodgeballer and you have to practice that, right? I don't know.
Maybe you're a dancer.
Maybe you're a dancer. Yeah, dancing. Again, there's so many things it could be. Please let us know in the chat. We would, of course, love to hear from you guys, what that might be for you. What was that activity or sport that you were training for? Okay, so again, a great message. Was there a part that was really impactful for you, Michaela?
Yeah, I think what you were saying before, like the difference between trying and training. And I'm just going to read it again, that trying is an attempt to change with minimal commitment, and training is a wholehearted commitment to achieve a specific result.
Yep.
And so now just thinking about like, what does that look like in the things that I want to commit to, you know, the goals that I have, like the achievements I want to make. And honestly, for me, I can get caught up in the result and just like getting there to that destination, rather than what you've been saying about like, this is just like, you're a lifelong learner, you're a lifelong trainer, you know? And so thinking about this goal of running a 5K, it's so much more than just getting there, but like, what does that look like? Just even my mindset, like to choose to run in the process of like training to get to that, you know, 5K marathon. What does it look like after that marathon? You know, yeah, so it's a big like mindset and perspective shift that I can struggle with sometimes, because I often put it on myself of like, it's in my own willpower, it's all on me to, you know, obtain that result, to get to that result. And so really relying on God and His power and what He can do through me. And really, honestly, just seeing the ways that He has provided for me in just crazy ways. Like my husband and I, we talk a lot about our jobs. And how much of a blessing both of those have been to us, you know, individually and as a family. And they wouldn't be possible without God. And seeing how He's orchestrated our lives with, you know, skills, experiences before that, even like relationships, and how we're able to be where we are today because of all those. But that was all Him, right? And so being able to, of course, play our part and give what we have, but then also trust God to give us, you know, what we need in those like day-to-day moments when we feel like giving up, right? And so just training to become who God has made us to be, and learning lots, honestly, learning a lot with that. And yeah, I think the physical training piece with like working out more, it's more than just the physical, it's the mental of like you choosing to persevere in that moment. And I was not a runner before.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think I shared that before, but my husband kind of encouraged me and said, I think you can run. Like if you think you can kind of thing. And you think you can't, then like you won't.
Yeah.
And so as I'm like literally running on the treadmill and I'm like, I want to give up. Like this sucks. And I'm like thinking like God is with me. God is like, he's giving me the power. He's giving me the strength. Like you can do this. Just a few more minutes, a few more seconds. Like really that self-talk.
Yeah.
Helps.
That can be
A lot.
Can be really big. Yeah, it certainly can. And it can really direct us in directions of where we're going. It can be a positive or a negative, depending on what your self-talk, of course, is.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think it's along the same lines, just shifting that mindset of trying to train. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, I just got to keep trying this. I got to keep trying this. But no, I need to stop the trying and actually train for it and really change the mindset of I really need to commit to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And really be committed, not just that half in, half out trying.
Right.
So yeah, I think that really struck a chord. Again, we'll talk a little further about this godliness with the verse today.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of ties in for me a little more about what the trying and training involving the godliness. I think that was kind of where it hit the most, because again, there's areas that I certainly could be training more to be having more of the godliness. I think there's areas in that, and I think that kind of struck that with the you got to commit. It's that committing, not just kind of half in, way out. So.
Right. Kind of like a whole life transformation, right? Like when we, accept Jesus, now we're like kind of navigating what does this whole faith thing look like?
Yep.
Having a relationship with Christ. And so like you're all in. I think about like Matthew West's song. Have you heard of it? It's called All In, literally. And he's like, I'm going all in head first to the deep end. Like literally, you've decided there's no turning back kind of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to read that Timothy verse again, and then we'll look at the question here. So instead training yourself to be godly. Physical training is good, but training for godliness is much better, promising benefits in this life and the life to come. So with that in mind, what does training in godliness look like in the world today? What tools are helpful for this training?
That's a good question.
I think we kind of touched on that a little bit with the mindset. You have to have that mindset, that all-in mindset. I have to commit. I think that's part of what that looks like.
Yeah, I think like us being able to speak truth. Honestly, our life group says this often, that we need to speak more to ourselves than listen to ourselves. Because there's feelings, there's like just different negativity, like all those different things that can easily like move us away from where we want to go. And so being able to speak truth and know truth, like the YouVersion Bible app. Thinking about tools, that's definitely one I am thankful for. That we have easy access to on our devices, and just like having access to the Word, different versions, translations, Bible plans. So like right now I'm going through the Gospels and just really like honing into the ways that Jesus lived and the example that he set for us. And so as I'm going, through my life day to day, and I'm, facing obstacles or even just lies, the enemy, because we are in a spiritual battle, right? Just being able to point back to truth in the Bible and have those verses in mind, like if God is for me, who can be against me? And like through God, all things are possible. And you just constantly need to be sitting in the Word and just absorbing all that truth, so that when you go into this difficult world that we live in and this hard life we live, we're ready, we're prepared.
Yeah, I think that kind of I think hits kind of most of those points of what does it look like, how do we, what does that look like in the world today, a tool, Bible, I think that's really, it's really good, because those are the things we need to have to really have that godliness in us, and training for that. I think again, having that godliness, I think training for that, we need to be that light. We need to be different.
Yeah.
Try not to fit in. I think that's kind of a good direction of what that looks like in this world, is what we need to be training. We need to be the different. We need to be a light. We need to stand out, I think, is a big part of that.
Yeah.
Again, for me, a big tool would be life groups. And I know you mentioned that. Again, I think that's a big part of what does that look like as a tool. These people are here to encourage us, to help us, to provide wisdom, guidance. Sometimes it's just an ear to listen. Yeah. And that, I think, is a huge tool in the training, because it allows us to have like-minded people around us, supporting us, encouraging us to continue to do. And we, again, talked about this earlier about that person that can be the encouragement when things seem hard, seem difficult, you want to stop, you want to give up. That life group can be the difference. They can be that push you need to keep going,
yes,
to give you that extra little bit to continue to train.
Totally.
So I think for me, YouVersion Bible or an original paper Bible, whatever you like, excellent tool for you to stay connected with God through His Word, and then life groups. Just being that support that's here, again, can be an excellent tool for us to continue to train and be that light, that difference in the world around us that can be fairly negative and dark. It tends to be that way.
Seriously, we need that connection, right, between like God and then with other people. We need both.
Yep.
And honestly, like your wife, she's in my life group, right? And so we're both competitive, and so we both have a goal of running a 5K this year.
Yep.
And so when I see her, we both are sharing our our activity on our Apple Watches, and I see her doing a workout, and I'm like, man, I need to get on that. Lena's gonna beat me, and just like in a way that's, of course, like the competitive piece and the fun side of it, but also just like us keeping each other accountable. Yep. So checking in, like, hey, how's it going? Like the consistency of working out and why we're doing it.
Yes.
And so it's really nice to have someone else or a group of people to talk to about those things.
Yeah, to really be the encouragement in those moments, because sometimes, if you don't have that sharing, you don't have that, it's very easy to get disconnected and be kind of like, they mustn't be doing anything, so I don't need to do it. Like, it is just, it's an easy way to try instead of train. You lose that community part of what you're trying to do. So
exactly, yes.
Okay, so let's talk about some habits I have in life that strengthen your relationships with God. Mm-hmm. In what ways could we prioritize these habits to serve you and the people around you?
Yeah, I think one thing would be prayer. I'm really wanting to be consistent with prayer, and before I would have like more of, I would say, like a formal scheduled time before bed is when I would like to pray. But I lately it's just been kind of like throughout the day, moment by moment, whether it's like thanking God or just asking Him to be with me. And I don't know, I can belittle those sometimes because they're small, casual moments. And sometimes I feel like I have to formalize things to make it official, like an official habit kind of thing. But I recognize that just like we are in relationship with people we love, where we're in conversation with them throughout the day, I know if we can be, it's okay to do that with God. Like He wants to hear from us. And even if it's, simple conversations throughout the day, that's a way to connect with Him. But I still want to put more intentional time aside as a habit to just be in His presence and just pray to God. Because it changes things. Like, it really humbles you. and knowing like it's not on me. I can rely on God, like practicing surrender and what that looks like. Prayer is just a huge part of that, and then seeing God come through with just answering prayers and being able to share those with others. So that's definitely one for me. What does that look like for you?
It's kind of similar. Again, having that talk throughout the day seems to be a good focusing point, something that tends to strengthen that for me. But I think exactly what you're saying about having scheduled time. I tend to I am by no means the organized person. That's just not me for some reason. I'm more of a nerdy person than an organized person.
Okay.
If that kind of makes sense, but my wife is by far the organizer, but not nerdy. So it kind of balances.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is I don't tend to prioritize or schedule specific things.
Okay.
I tend not to do that. And I think doing that, prioritizing the scheduling, to make the time to have dedicated, let's say, prayer time, dedicated Bible time, not just very sporadic, I think, again, would help to serve God as well as the people around me better. I would have a stronger focus, I guess, in different areas that would maybe help focus me to be a better light, a better person that stands out in this world. So yeah, I think just that scheduling, that prioritizing, I think is a big part of what'll make it better. It's not bad. It's just it could be better.
Right. Yeah. We're always looking for different ways to get better, right? To grow.
Yeah.
And it's hard, the scheduling, right? Like if you're not used to sitting down, you know, and then kind of like planning out your day or whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like. Like I'm like your wife. I have like a planner. I will schedule my whole week every Sunday.
Yep.
And that helps me, you know, to pre-decide in a way. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe reminders would help.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I think it's going to be again, it's going to be a very training oriented exercise for me. Just the job that I have, I can't be very organized in the jobs I'm doing. Not in the sense that I'm not organized doing the job, it's the jobs that come in, because a lot of times it shifts around a lot. I don't have a set schedule of exactly what's coming in, because things change very quickly and we have to change what we're doing, and it's hard to plan a day. So I've tended to be just very kind of free, I guess, with the time of what's available. When something comes in, this is what it is. It's not what was scheduled, but it needs to be done. So it just has to change. If I was extremely organized in that sense, where if I had to plan out my week, I couldn't do anything. I would be literally frozen because it would not go to the schedule. So I have to train myself into separating those, that it's not a work thing, it's a personal time, and then prioritize personal time and leave the work side out of it. And have a different mindset for the personal time, I think, is going to be the training, the tough training part, to get myself into that kind of routine, that habit. But I think once that's established, that training, I think, again, it'll organize, of course, my time better, and I'll probably have more time to do things than I probably have now, because it's more scheduled, it's more organized. So
yeah, totally.
I think it'll be better. It's just, yeah, it's hard. It can be hard. And yeah, if I had to sit down and plan out, like I would just be like, nope, we're just not going to do that. We're just going to do something else. It's just that seems a little bit daunting to me, but
yeah, well, you need that flexibility too, right? Like sometimes, like I struggle with flexibility, and just like, you know, as things come up throughout the day, like being a bit more spontaneous, taking things on, like that can stress me out sometimes. Yep. So you need both, and I think like with the whole training thing, as we're even talking about habits, like starting small. Right? Like for me, it's like, okay, so I want to pray, let's just say like a 10-minute prayer, which can be long.
Yep.
And so just starting off small, like, okay, I'm just going to spend like 5 minutes like for like the next few weeks, and then building on that.
Yep.
Because ultimately, like Craig was saying with like the white belt versus the black belt, some people don't even start to even get that white belt.
To even start, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just taking that first step to start it, and then from there, you know, growing and maybe adding more time or whatnot. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, excellent message by far. I think a very strong one. So please check it out if you haven't, on our YouTube channel and LifeNorth.Church. It is all there and posted. And yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, get those notifications so you don't have to remember, because again, that's another thing to schedule. I wouldn't remember, so that reminder would, of course, is extremely handy, because it's just an automatic, oh, hey, I can go check this out. I don't have to think about it. One less decision for me to make in a day, which is, I think, is quite handy.
Totally.
So, of course, we've come to the end of the time here, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this as much as we have. Of course, we want to thank you again for joining us each and every week. We love to have you guys. We want to thank the tech crew behind us, of course, making this all possible, making it available so you guys can watch, interact, and be a part of what we do each and every week. And of course, we want to remember, whoever finds God finds life.